Alright, you just finished shooting your glorious roll of film, but how do we access those perfect grainy tones, and I do mean perfect, that are trapped inside this little plastic container and turn them into these beautiful negatives? But first, some introductions are in order. I'm Dalton, and the man behind the camera, well, that's Sean. Well, you could ship it out to a professional lab and have to deal with shipping fees and waiting a week or two to get your stuff in the mail. You could drop it off at your local drugstore, but odds are they don't have the most qualified people running that joint, and I bet they don't even know what 120 is. So with all those options, where does that leave us? I'll tell you where it leaves us. It leaves us with you developing your own film. And why would you want to develop your own film? Well, let me tell you, in the long run, it's cheaper, you got more control over your photos, and come on, who doesn't like a little chemistry? So before we get ahead of ourselves with developing, mixing, and all that fun chemistry stuff, we first need to do an inventory checklist. We are going to be using this Flic Film development toolkit. So what are the essential items that are in this kit? Alright, we're talking graduated cylinders, storage containers, a digital timer, an electric thermometer, and a film opener. Now let's talk about a few trinkets that aren't in the kit, but you'll need as well, and that are essential. Unless you have a pitch black room in your house, I recommend using a change bag. A Patterson tank, a way of heating up your chemicals, such as a kettle, running hot water, or any other means under the sun to heat stuff up. But we're going to be using this Flic Film water bath. A stir stick, because mixing chemicals with your fingers is quite difficult. Distilled water. Scissors. Paper towel, because things are probably going to get a little messy. Some PPE. And with that, here's a message from past me.
Alright, so before you work with anything, with any of these chemicals and stuff, we gotta be important here. We gotta be safety. Safety number one, you know that? Alright, so we're talking, wear some masks, chemicals, they're gonna go in the air. Wear some gloves, I don't wanna get burned. You got glasses already? You're fine, but maybe if you don't, if you were born with perfect vision, maybe put on some safety goggles, little safety glasses, they'll help you here. Don't want to get hurt making development, right?
Oh, yeah, lastly, let's not forget, you also need some film that you shot. Checklist done. Now we're going to educate you on why these items are essential. These aren't your normal cylinders that you use for mixing, measuring, and pouring. These cylinders went to college, and now they are graduated cylinders. You think these storage bottles are just used to store your chemicals? Well, yes, that is exactly what they're used for. You may be thinking, hey, I have some pop bottles or glass containers at home that I can use instead, right? Well, you'd be wrong. To clarify, these cylinders and bottles are literally designed for the type of chemicals that we're putting into it. If you use other containers, you risk contamination and the possibility of your container dissolving into your chemicals, which I don't think is optimal for developing. In case you don't have a never-failing internal timer in your head, use a simple separate timer, and try to avoid using your $600 phone, as development can tend to get a little bit messy. Now, an accurate thermometer is very important as chemicals need to be a certain temperature. Dear God, please don't use the same thermometer you use to check if your steak is cooked. Believe it or not, this is not used to crack open a cold one with the boys. This is used to actually open a film canister. Now that I have opened this film, I have completely ruined it. Moving on to the Patterson tank. This model can hold two 35mm rolls or one roll of 120. Inside this mystery cylinder is two reels, the center column, agitator, and a funnel. Oh, and don't forget this light seal pancake that goes on top. As stated before, we are using this water bath to heat our chemicals up to a precise temperature. This water bath comes with 4 containers that are specifically used for heating in the water bath.
Alright, this is everything you need to start developing at home. I know it looks like a lot, but guess what? Once you have this stuff, you're good. This can be used for any sort of film between black and white, C41, E6, and anything else you can think of. But yeah, that's basically it. Hope you learned something here with inventory, and you have yourself a good night. Happy developing.